Back to my book. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be talking about my February reads, what I read in the month of February. I had a really good reading month. I read 11 books, and 4 of those were 5 stars. 6 of those were 4 stars, and I have 1 3-star. So let's get in it. So my first book I want to talk about is actually my 3-star, and it is Listen for the Lie by Eamon Tintera. This story is about Lucy, who returns to her hometown for her grandmother's birthday. And the thing is that she left her small town, because of her best friend Savvy's murder, that she is the only suspect for. But she doesn't remember, and she even thinks she might have killed her, but she doesn't remember. She has she's dealing with amnesia from that night, so she lost her memory because of all the horrible things and the horrible night, and so she doesn't remember. But then a true crime podcast has decided to make this case their focus of the season of the podcast. So this was my only 3-star, and it wasn't because of the writing, and it wasn't because of the plot, it wasn't because of the twist. All those things were wonderful. I personally did not like any of the characters. I felt like I didn't like any of them. Not even the main character. It was like, if there was a song for this book, it would be Who's Cheating Who by Alan Jackson. It was like a soap opera. Everybody's hopping in bed with everybody. It was like crazy. And I just really didn't enjoy that aspect of the book. I think it could have been without that. But there it is, and that's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it. Now, I did listen to the audiobook, and I love the podcast format that was in the audiobook, and I really did enjoy that. But as far as the rest of it, I just didn't like the characters. And so that's why I gave it 3 stars. And so my next book that I read was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. And I really do like these characters. This may contain spoilers if you haven't read the first one, but we revisit Feyre, and she is trying to overcome what she had to do under the mountain to save Tamlin's life. And she has to make good on the bargain that she made with Rysland. So that's where we are. Honestly, I gotta say, I am so surprised, I've said this every time, how much I'm enjoying these books. I tried to read fantasy before, and I've struggled with it. I don't struggle with this. The only thing I did think was that it was hard to read. Sorry, I gotta scroll down. There was a lot of backstory in this. A lot of previous and politics and stuff, and I didn't really quite understand it completely. But I love Feyre. She's an awesome female main character. I was able to skip over the spice, but I love the romance aspect of it. It was really good. The twist at the end that left us with a cliffhanger was really good. And I am so looking forward to finishing this series. I am really looking forward to it. I'm reading one of these a month, so I can just savor it. I do that now with series. I don't read them back to back anymore because I want to enjoy them. And I think if I give a month, it gives me time to just really okay, savor the story, so to speak. So my next book that I read was Lincoln Highway by Immortals. I may be saying that wrong, but I don't know, it sounds funny to me. It's probably right. All right, so this is the story of Emmett in the 1950s, and he was released early from work camp prison that he was serving time for involuntary manslaughter. But the reason that he's been released early is because he has to take custody of his brother Billy, because he's his only living relative, because his dad has just passed away and his mom abandoned them years ago. So they're getting ready to start their new life, but not so fast, because here comes some things from his not so distant past that come to haunt him. And this story is a story of adventure and just really good. And this is my favorite time period. I love the 1950s. I love that. And so I just really enjoy I don't know, there's something about that time period I really enjoy. So I really enjoyed that. I did listen to it, and it was really a really good audiobook. And one of the people that I enjoyed was a side character was Sally. I thought she was great. I loved her. I loved her spunk. And she was something for a woman in the 1950s, a young lady in the 1950s. I liked her a lot, and I liked how it ended. It had a really good ending, and I was just rooting the whole time for Emmett and Billy, and rooting for them the entire time, and it was just so good, and I really enjoyed it, and I gave this 5 stars. I so look forward to reading his other book. Another book I know he has is A Man in Moscow. I want to read that next by him. And his writing was phenomenal. He was just a great storyteller. It was just a wonderful, wonderful story. So, the next book that I read was The Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. We are now visiting Knockemout, Virginia once again. This little area that Lucy has created for us. And Nash is the main focus of this book. And he is the good brother, but he's also recovering from PTSD from being shot. He got shot and he's dealing with it. And he's also suffering from memory loss from the event as well. And so he's trying to recover mentally and physically. And he's silently, he doesn't want anybody to know what he's going through. And then here comes Lena, and she's an old fling of Knox's. And they're friends now. They're actually really good friends. And she comes to town as an insurance investigator and ends up staying across the hall from Nash. And she has dealt with PTSD, so she has some coping mechanisms. But you know what works best for Nash? Lena being by him at his side. She seems to be the best remedy for that. So, anyways, and her presence in his life. And so this is a slow burn, friends to lovers kind of thing, maybe a little bit of enemies to lovers. I don't know. Kind of a mixed. Probably more enemies. I don't know. A little bit, And then it was very spicy. I just went over the spice, but I will say that even some of the thoughts and stuff, there was a little bit of spice sprinkled all through it. Maybe not heavy spice, and the whole thing I skipped over the heavy spice. And Lena is a strong but stubborn, which makes great fiction. And Morgan men are something else, I gotta say. And they have strong emotions. So it was a really, really good book. I am looking forward to the next one in the series, and hopefully I'll get to read it soon. My book I'm reading now has taken me a while, but if not, whenever I get to read it, I am looking forward to it. I was happy when I figured out who the next main character of the next book is. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I gave that 4 stars. So the next book I read was Deserts, Driving, and Derelicts by Tanya Capps. And I talked about the first book in this series last month, and I realized I didn't give a whole lot of description. I was more rambling about something that I was bothered by. So this is the story of Mae West, and she has now found her home in Normal, Kentucky, where nothing is normal. She originally was from Kentucky, a small town in Kentucky, and she was a airplane stewardess. She met this man, she married him, and was living the life on basically Fifth Avenue in New York until all that fell apart because Paul was running a Ponzi scheme. So the only thing that she had left when all was said and done, they took everything, but the one thing that they couldn't take was this campground that she had no idea that existed, and a camper. She was able to get a camper and go to this campground that was put in her name by her ex-husband, Paul. If you read the books, you'll understand why I said it like that. Anyways, and so where nothing is normal, including this cast of characters, which are hilarious. And so she moves this town. First book was planning to sell the campground, which she decided not to do that. And now she's here trying to make right what Paul did to these people, because he actually came and scammed them out of some money. And so she's trying to make it right. And so, and a blast from the past shows up. Old lover comes back, or not lover, love interest. He's not lover. Love interest returns home, and she, of course, stumbles on another body. I say, of course, because this is the second book and second time she stumbled on a body. So she ends up helping the police without their wanting her to, but she ends up helping them solve the mystery. And it was just a cute little, fun little mystery book, and I really enjoyed listening to them. And whenever I get a chance, I will listen to more of them. I think there's like 30 of them in the series. They're also on Kindle Unlimited for free. So it's a really good story. Love the characters. They're hilarious. And I've been listening to audiobooks, and I just really am enjoying that a lot. So it's just really good. So my next book that I read was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. And I'm reading one Frida book a month, and this was my pick for this month, for February. And once again, did not see the ending coming. I literally could not stop reading until I finished this book, because at one point I stopped to eat dinner, and I was like, I've got to get back to it. The girls in the attic, there was somebody stuck in an attic bedroom, and I had to get them out. They couldn't just leave them there overnight. It was a really good read. I really enjoyed it. I had fun reading it, and I didn't see the twist coming. So it's a story of Millie, and she is homeless, and she is jobless. And she's trying really hard to stay out of prison. She does not want to go back to prison. And so she thinks she's hit the jackpot when she takes this job at the Winchester's home. And things escalate very quickly. From first dealing with a bipolar boss, a spoiled brat, and then the sweetest man that she's probably ever met. And so little does she know, nothing is as it seems. And like I said, this is the first book in the series, and there's 4 books. 1 is a novella and 3 standard books. And I am so looking forward to all of them. I have heard mixed reviews on the other ones, but either way, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what Millie gets herself into next. So yes, like I said, did not see the twist coming, and I gave that 5 stars. And so the next book I read was My Phony Valentine by Courtney Walsh. This is the perfect book for Valentine's Day weekend. Our main character, Poppy, is the scandal of her small town at no fault of her own. And what a better way to save her dying restaurant, which was her dream, her train wreck of a love life, than to fake date a problematic, misunderstood, bad boy hockey player. What more could you ask for in a perfect little romance book? Agreeing to an NDA and roping her family to join in. What a way to win the trust of the community back than by lying. Lying to them, but between the small town Facebook TMZ group and is all over it, and then of course it has a really happy ending and a little bit of miscommunication trope in there, and this book is cheesy in all the right places, and it was really good. And probably the cherry on top, or the little whatever, is there's a performance of the song One Direction song Kiss You, and mention in it. And it's a low spice book to no spice really, and it has the right amount of tension, and I gave it 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it. And there's more. She has another book, and it's a St. Patrick's Day theme one, and hopefully I'll get to read that, but I'm not sure. We'll see. So, the next book is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, and this is the second and last book in the Letters of Enchantment duology. Iris, our main character, she is a boss, okay? She is tender, and she's forced to return home from the home that she ran from to face the past and an unknown future. It solidifies who she is. And Iris doesn't know where her husband is or if he's even alive. She's lost the only way to communicate with him because they didn't have phones and stuff back then like they do now, because this takes place in like early 1900s. I kind of picture England, kind of like thing like London kind of situation. And they didn't have like phones and stuff. So she didn't know if he was alive. She doesn't have a way to communicate with him until an article appears in the rival newspaper written by him on the side of the enemy. We'll come to find out he's not only been captured by the enemy, but he has suffered memory loss, and he doesn't remember her. So she gets him to fall in love with her all over again. And they work together to defeat a common foe. And the ending was, I could not have asked for a better, well, maybe some of the sad parts, but it was war, and that's never, obviously war is not always happy. But the ending was perfect in the way that when I started the book, I was like, oh, I wish there was more in the series. And by the time I got to the end of this book, I was like, no, that's perfect. She wrapped up all the pieces, and it was a perfect little package at the end, a bow at the end. And I gave this 4 stars. So the next book that I read was this book, and it is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is the story of Nora Roberts and her journey that she has never taken for herself. She has always put everyone before herself. She also has the worst luck in love. This enemies to lovers forks proximity with Charlie, our male main character, who is so sweet. They are after failing to work together in the past in New York. She ends up in western North Carolina, just outside of Asheville, in a small town where Charlie's family is a big name in that town. They own a couple businesses and stuff like that. And she ends up having to work with him on a project, they end up working together on a project. And I really enjoyed this book. First, this book not only mentions Asheville, which is not far from me. I've actually lived in Asheville a period of time in my life. But it also, it also mentions her Peloton, talks about her Peloton, which I can completely understand. I've been taking Peloton classes. I don't own a Peloton. I have the guide. I don't own the bike, but I've been taking Peloton classes via the app for years. And I mean, it didn't mention anybody in it, just mentioned her Peloton, but I can understand her love for fitness and how vital that is, because it's a big part of my life and it helps me a lot of ways. But I was just rooting for these characters, and the spice was really kind of at a minimum, and I just skipped over it. It wasn't too heavy, and I was giggling at times, and I did not see the twist at the end. And I just loved how Nora develops as a person, and she gets what she deserves finally, and that made me very happy. And I look forward to reading more. This is only my second Emily Henry book, and I look forward to reading more of her books. I just truly enjoy her writing and her stories. Okay, so the next one, I actually listened to this, but I have a copy, and this copy is too beautiful to not showcase, right? So this book is called Pride and Prejudice, obviously, by Jane Austen. And this is a story of Elizabeth finding love, and she is so strong and smart. And this is an enemies to lovers with Mr. Darcy. And there are times when there's so much there's cattiness in this with other characters. It was just comical to me. And it has no spice, and it's a slow burn, enemies to lovers love story. I felt like audio was the best way for me to enjoy this book to the best, to its fullest. I did give it 4 stars. I did struggle a little bit with understanding the time, the social norms, things like that. And I look forward to learning more about that and having an understanding of that. I didn't completely understand all that, but in the meantime, I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. And that was really good. And the next book, Us Against You by Frederick Bateman. This is the second book in the Beartown trilogy, and this is about this small town called Beartown, trying to pick up the pieces after a tragedy. And I love the way the author writes. It's as if, this is what I came up with, it is as if he has his finger on the pulse of society. There is so many interesting dynamics at play in this, with political, with just small town, with just all kinds of things. It was just really in people and human. Like I said, he can write human nature. I'm sorry, I have a hair on my face. He can write human nature like nobody else. His characters are so real and so believable, and he has it down to a science. I only gave this 4 stars. And it's not because of the writing or anything. It's not because of the story or anything like that. It is simply because, this is the one thing I don't like. He changes POVs and he changes scenes. And I can see how this would be a great show because you just skip scenes or whatever, or movie. But reading is really hard. You get like, I'll get into a scene. I'll be like, okay, this is what's going on, da, da, da. And then the next paragraph, without any warning, we're at a different POV and a different scene. And it possibly even a different time. And that's so hard for me. Like, my ADD, like, is like, it struggles. It struggles. It takes a lot for me to, sometimes I have to reread stuff and everything. Instead of staying for pages or like paragraphs on one scene, nope, we're just going to flip from paragraph to paragraph. You could be different POV, different scene. And that's just the way he writes. But I love, other than that, I love his writing. I love how descriptive he is. And I just love the way he sees things, because it's so realistic. As sad as that is, because this is not a happy story. But I just love it. And I gave it 4 stars only because of the transitions and the scenes and the POVs and the times. Like, he'll change times. He'll be back in time or future, and you have no warning. There's just no, like, just one paragraph to the next. So really, really enjoyed it, though. Looking forward to reading the last one. So all in all, I would say I had a wonderful reading month. Comment below what you read last month that you enjoyed, and like and subscribe. And I hope you join me back for more of these. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Alrighty, bye-bye.